Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bettinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how I made this project. This is a little mini album, and I've been having this idea bounce around in my head now for quite a little while, and I just decided to go ahead and make it up. I used one of our acetate boxes and put some decoration on both sides, and this project, when it's finished, fits perfectly inside this box, and you can put a tag on it, decorate it up a little bit more, put a ribbon on it. It makes a lovely gift. The mini album itself is, the base that I used is one that I saw Dawn from Dawn's Stampin' Thoughts put up, and she made hers be a card rather than an album. And I've had it in my head for such a long. I've been watching some of those videos on YouTube with some of those super elaborate albums, and my gosh, some of those things are 6 or 7 inches tall and have millions of pages on the inside, and I didn't have the patience or the time to really do something like that. But I thought I could adapt Dawn's cutting instructions for the little card that she made to make a little mini album. And it works perfectly. I'm using the Petal Garden Designer Series paper pack, and I had enough to do in this beautiful Sugarplum and Pool Party and let's see what other colors are in here, Old Olive. And now I'm going to switch this time, and we're going to make it out of some of the orange colors that are in this paper pack as well, and you should have enough to make 2 out of a package of paper there too. All right, so let me just show you a little bit about it. There's a little tag on here that says "Just for You," and a place to write on the back anything you'd like as you give this gift. This little pocket will hold a photo or some inspirational quotes or any number of things. As I unfold this, you'll notice that these 2 panels are exactly the same size. And I have a sheet of instructions for this. And then I created a little belly band here so that one could stick a little photograph, if you liked, right behind here on this page. And then on this side, the next 2 pages are the same size. These 2 pages are the same size. So I put a pattern piece on here, and let's see, let me grab my pierce tool here so I can show you. This is actually a little pocket, and what I've done is, out of the scraps from this paper, I cut a whole bunch of these little ovals and banners, because I thought that one might want to put some things on here that says what's in here for the recipient, and every place there's a little place to tuck some in. I tucked a few of these little pieces in there. The next one is an overfold, so one could put a photograph here, one could put one here, and one could put one here. The next 2 pages, again, are the same size, a little bit bigger. And this one is a pocket on the side, and it also has all of these little banners and things inside. I thought it would be so much fun to put these on and just say a little bit about the photograph or the inspiration or whatever one's going to put on. This one, other than the pretty paper, is just plain, and one could adhere a photograph to this one. And this last piece, again, stuck with all kinds of little banners and tags, has a pocket to the side, kind of a diagonal pocket. And again, like I said, every chance I got, I stuck a few of these little things, and it's easy to use the scraps that are left over to make that. Then on the back side, underneath this back panel, is where I put my ribbons, and I used our lace trim ribbon here, very pretty, and I used We don't have any pool party ribbon now, but we do have this beautiful soft sky, And let me turn this over. As you can see, it matches pretty well. So I used the soft sky ribbon and the lace trim ribbon for this project. Now what I did on the back side is I just put paper. So this is captured under there, and this is 23 inches of ribbon so that there's plenty of opportunity for somebody to close this up and retie it. Then there's these two again are the same, and I just did decorated paper on these so that somebody could put a photograph. So one could really get quite a few photographs into something like this, and I just love the project. And then, like I said, this ribbon I put on at 23 inches and it's a little bit longer, you'll see, on one side than the other, and that's because I wanted to come around and across the album and be able to tuck this in and tie this pretty easily so that literally anybody could do it. Get a bow tied in here and close up the album, and isn't that sweet? It could travel in the box that you've made for it, or somebody could just tuck it in their purse and share with friends photos of a new baby or of a wedding or a special vacation or any number of things. And so that is the project today. Now, while it looks daunting, it's not. There's only one bit of stamping on here, and that's this, just for you on the tag. And I have a set of instructions here, and I'll leave this here if you want to take a screenshot, so that everything is listed here, including the size of the backing, the scoring, and 2 measurements for each panel, so that you have the outside measurement for something to fit on there, and the slightly smaller one if you want to put an extra layer on that one. There's directions for the tag, there's directions for the ribbon. I put everything on here, and I've gone over it 3 or 4 times, and I keep adding one more little piece. So I'm going to put this down below the video so that everything will be there. Now, if you have questions, don't hesitate to call me or write to me on my website. The other thing is, if you write to me on my website, what I can also do is send you this set of instructions on an email. And there's no charge for that. This is just, I just love this project so much. I'd love to see a bunch of them made. Thanks very much for your attention and your subscription, and that's part of my gift back to you. So let me tell you a little bit about what we did to make this piece. And the very first set of instructions on here says that for our base we need 2 pieces of old olive, and we need a piece that is 12 inches by 5.5, and we need a piece that is 11 inches by 5.5. So you get the whole back of the mini album out of one 12 by 12 sheet. All right, so this is take 2 for me. I was taking a lovely view of my ceiling here a minute ago. So I had started my scoring, and we'll just finish it together. So our first score on our piece, let me get that turned around here, on our piece that is 12 by 5 is at 4 inches. And let me extend my arm, move things out of the way so you can see, I think, exactly what I'm doing here. So at 4 inches, I made my first score here. Then the next score is at 7.5 inches. So at 7.5. And then our last score on this long piece is at 11 inches. And so there we are at 11 inches, making that last score. So there we have the scoring for that first piece. Next, we're going to take the piece that is 5.5 by 11 inches, and we're going to score that one at 3 inches and at 6 inches and at 8.5 inches. Okay, and so there's our score marks on that one as well. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way now, and we're going to fold and burnish all of our lines. And so I'm going to open up this album so you can see exactly how it needs to be folded. So the smallest piece here is this panel here, and you can see that that is folded so that it is a mountain fold. So we're going to fold that, then we're going to fold this one the other way and this last one back this way, and you can see the first 2 pages here of your album being set up. Then on this last piece here, we're going to start. This is the end piece. So we're going to fold that over from right to left, then back again, and then fold this last little piece like this. And you can see that that is going to make those 2 last pieces. Okay, so what we're going to do now is this is the front of our album with the smallest pieces here on the end, and this is the end of our album with the largest piece at the end. And what we're going to do is just connect them right here and glue these 2 pieces together. So what I'm going to do is use tear tape. And let's see, this piece of tear tape is a little ragged on the edge here, so I'm going to cut off that little end there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is get my silicone mat out here, and I'm going to lay down a line of this tear tape on the inside edge of the score line here all the way to the end and tear it off, and then again on the outside edge of that panel, and I'll just snip off this end so that it meets right up with the edge that we want. And in fact, I want this to stick down really well, so I'm going to take one little additional piece and put it here where I didn't take it to the end. Okay, and I find with tear tape that the most important thing is to get it to stick down to your cardstock first, because once it's stuck down, and you can use anything you like to kind of burnish it onto the paper, then I find that the little strip of paper on top comes off pretty easily. So I'm going to just strip off this little tape on the tops. And then we are going to stick this together by folding this line here, and I'm going to tuck this piece right into that score line. And what you want to do is get it set in there as close as you can while still allowing the fold to work, and then lining up the top and the bottom. And there we have, let's see, oh dear, I stuck that on Well, that's all right. What we'll do is, I meant to stick it on the other way because this was the front of our panel, but I think this, no, that's right. This end is this first fold. I do need to do the score lines back the other way because I did put it on differently here. So there we go. There we go. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is burnish the score lines here really, really, really hard on all of the fold lines that we have available. So on the back side, take these apart, and this seam will get covered with paper, and burnish and fold, and burnish and fold. All right, there we go. So that our mini album is now all set up, and all we have to do is decorate it. The only other thing that I'm using that's a bit different is I am using some 1/8 of an inch red sticky strip. And I'm doing that because in the album, when I'm sticking a piece of paper on the outside edge, one, I want it to be absolutely stuck down. And this stuff is incredibly sticky. And in fact, Stampin' Up! Used to sell red sticky strip, and it doesn't anymore. And it's so small that when I put it in place around the edge, it gives me the maximum usage, if you will, for whatever it is I'm putting in. Takes up as little space as possible and is absolutely sticky, sticky, sticky. So that's the only other thing I'm using that, and you may have some of this in your stash. I didn't. I had to go get some. All right, I have wider varieties, but I hadn't had any of this 1/8 of an inch stuff. Okay, so I have pre-cut all of my pieces, and I'm going to set them here to the side. Move the albums out of the way, and we'll bring them back just to look at the pieces from time to time, just to see what we're doing. So for this first panel, I have these pieces cut. I have this piece, all of the measurements top to bottom for the outside pieces are 5 3/8 inches. So this piece is 5 3/8 by 2 3/8. And that piece is going to just sit on this front panel here. And so I'm just going to use some snail on this one. I'm moving back and forth between snail, fuse, didn't use any liquid glue on this, tear tape, and red sticky strip. And on these panels where there's a pocket, like this one, I am using, if I'm using snail, I'm using quite a bit of it, because I absolutely don't want this moving around once it's put in place. And if it's going to have a pocket, it's liable to get pulled on. So this piece then would layer on here. This piece was originally cut 5 1/4 by 2 1/4, and then I just used my trimmer and slit off an edge. So this is where we would use the red sticky strip. And what I have done is taken the red sticky strip and laid it as close to the edge as I can get away with, and draw it across to where I want it, and then snip off the end. Now I'm going to do the same thing down this other edge, and I'm not putting any on these two little ends here because I want people to be able to easily slide their photos in and out. So I'm going to put this piece of red sticky strip right on the edge of this paper, setting it in place as I move along the edge here till I get all the way down here to the bottom, and then snip off the edge. All right, and very much like the tear tape that I was using a minute ago, this behaves very well when it's burnished well into the card. And the only other thing I would say to you is on all of these pockets, I did do this with my bone folder, just so that when I put this in place, it didn't have sort of a flat surface and it was easy to tuck something inside. All right, so now I'm going to take off the red strip here. And my red sticky strip. This tape is actually pretty easy to work with, but you do have to be careful when you're setting it down, because once it's down, it's down. So I can see two sides here. I'm going to try and get the same border on both sides and lay that into place. And there we have our first panel started. Now, to make our tag, I have the scalloped tag topper punch. This is 2 inches by 3 1/4, and I stuck this end in and got my tag topper on the top. Then I used this little piece because it had decoration on one corner, and I thought that would be pretty on this tag top. The only thing with this one is that you have to make sure it's centered, because it's a little bit shorter than the area that you're putting things in. And that's all we need that for. Now you could make extra tags and put inspirational sayings on them. You could do any number of things. This is going to fit here on this little tag. And I wanted the border of cream, very vanilla, all the way around. So I'm just going to slide it down. And you see, I left a little bit of that hole there, but not the whole thing. If I pulled it up and made it flush, I'd have a rim around 3 sides, but not the top. So I'm very deliberately putting this down in such a way that it will, let me use a glue eraser. That's going to just drive me nuts. Didn't use my silicone mat there, and now I've got glue. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is put, oh, that side's pretty too. I'm just going to put some snail here on this and take my tag, and I'm going to lay this down so that it has a tiny border all the way around. Now I cut a 6-inch strip of this old olive sheer ribbon, and I'm going to make a little loop here halfway along the ribbon and stick this loop back through the front. And I may have to use something to grab that with. Okay, so then what I did was even up my ribbon here, and I did put just a tiny bit of snail. That's not actually coming out. A tiny bit of snail along the top here and along the back, and that's so that my ribbon wouldn't move once I got it set in place. Now I'm going to take those tails and tuck them through the loop in the front, and then I'm just going to pull my slip knot up here and pull it tight and pull that knot tight, and then move these pieces over on the glue and on the back, and make sure those are set down on the glue. Then I used my glue eraser to take away any extra glue that might be hanging out there, but that holds your slip knot in absolute perfect shape there. So now what we have is this all ready to go, and we'll stamp it when we get close to the end here. And because that I rounded the edge of that, I can slide my tag right in there. Okay, so next what I wanted to do was I have the next pieces that I need right here, and isn't that pretty paper? And this piece is going to go down in this panel. So I'm just going to put some snail along the back here. And put that on the second panel. So this piece I'm going to just fold one edge over, and I'm going to put some snail on this and put that in place back behind here, so I make a little belly band that goes down over this piece. So let's see, that needs to be, if you're smart, you'll dry fit this before you put your pieces on. Okay, so this piece gets put on underneath here to start the belly band, and then we'll put it underneath on this edge. So let me get the crease fold for that. So we're going to want it to fold right about there in order to make a good belly band for this. Okay, so now I'm going to take that back off. And then I have these two pieces of trim, and I used our ribbon trim, and I did these pieces out of Pool Party. And let's see, maybe we'll just put one along one of the edges here. And so I am going to put a little bit of snail just right down the edge, one side of the edge of this ribbon trim, and I am going to set it, I guess I can put my belly band back in place here. Okay, so there's my belly band stuck down, and now I have this really pretty piece of ribbon trim that I'm going to set at the bottom here and just pull all the way up to the top and put that in place on this side of the belly band. And let's see, I did have another piece cut. Let me see where it got to. That one's not quite long enough. Oh, there it is. Maybe this is it. Yep, this is it. Okay, so this one I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to put a little bit of snail along the ribbon trim and use it on this end of the belly band to decorate that little belly band there. And there we've got a belly band for somebody to put a picture underneath on that piece. Okay, so the next piece I have in mind is on this side, and I have a piece that is cut 5 3/8 by 2 7/8, And this piece I'm just going to adhere down on the panel here. There. So I'm going to put some snail down here so I can adhere this piece right onto that panel. And then I've got this piece to make a little pocket. I'm going to do what I did before, and I'm going to kind of roll this top piece because that's going to be the pocket top. So again, I'm going to take a little bit, let's see, first I wanted to put some little lace trim on the inside of that pocket, and for that I'm going to use fuse. I found that this ribbon is really hard to get to stick down unless you use the fuse on it. So I am going to lay down a little strip of fuse right on the back here and stick my lace trim on there so that it sticks out the top just a little bit. And then I'm going to take another piece of paper here on the back side to put into place over that lace to help hold it in place. Okay, and that way any fuse that's left over won't stick to whatever's stuck in the pocket. Then I'll trim those edges off, and the piece of paper on the back isn't meant to be seen, it's just to fortify the pocket top and allow me to have a place to put my lace. Now I'm going to use my red sticky strip. This is a small pocket, so this is one where we want as much usable room as possible. Okay, and then we're going to put this little pocket, in fact you might want to make this little pocket go all the way to the edges to give a little bit more room. This one ended up being a little shorter than I'd planned on, but I put it in place, and now I've got that pretty lace trim kind of peeking up over there, and I thought I might put another little strip right across here just for some added decoration. So I'm just going to cut this piece off and then add just a little bit of snail onto the back of this piece just to add a little bit of decoration here on this little pocket. There we go. And so there's that piece done. The next piece that we're going to do is this fold over flap here. So what I have is I used Pool Party cardstock, and I made the first piece a big enough panel to fit in that place. Then I have the piece to cover that cut here. This piece, and this one is 5, and this first piece of Pool Party is 5 3/8 by 2 7/8, and this piece is 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. This piece is 2 7/8 by 6 scored at 5/8, and it has a little panel to go on the front of it then to add some additional interest. So let's start by sticking these two pieces together. So I'm just going to use some snail on this panel. here. Okay, and then this panel, I'm going to lay some fuse down on this piece on the back. And we're going to attach that right into and just slightly under the fold on the piece on the back, and fold that over, and then this piece is going to go on the front here. I'm thinking like that so we can see all of that pretty paper on there. And it looks like I didn't get that piece cut, so I'm going to just trim that down. So that piece is going to fit on there, and I'm just going to add some snail. On that. And you see, you have lots of opportunity to layer on all kinds of different patterns. Now I cut a little piece of this ribbon trim out of some of the DSP. I thought that was so pretty, and I thought I might just add that to the bottom of this piece to add a little bit more decoration. So I'm going to just add a little bit of snail here to this piece, and I'm going to add this little bit of trim down here to the bottom of this page. There we go. Isn't that pretty? All right, so this piece is then going to go on here. So I'm going to use, since that's two pieces, I think I'll use fuse on that one. It's gonna needs maybe a little bit more to hold it in place. And okay, so this piece is going to go on here like that. And there we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of our pages done and decorated. Now, all right, so on to the next pieces. And the next piece is this side, and what I have planned for that is this very pretty green piece on the back with this piece here cut to make a pocket. And it looks like I'm going to need, let's see, I am missing a piece. Okay, so this piece is going to go on here, so let me put that on. And this piece is 5 3/8 by 3 3/8. So put into place, and then I need a pocket, and doesn't look like I cut this piece. So this one needs to have a piece that is 5 1/4, or 5 1/8, pardon me. I'm not reading my own instructions here. 5 1/8 by 3. So that is 5 1/8, and I need 3 inches here. So there's my 3 inches. And that piece should just sit inside this piece and create this pocket this way. So again, I'm going to use my bone folder here, and I'm going to relax that side. Then I'm going to use my red sticky strip, and let's see, am I putting anything along this edge here? Let's see what I've got cut. Maybe this would be a place to use a little bit of this blue ribbon trim right here. So let me cut a piece of that and put a little bit of snail on either side, and you know, I'm going to also add a little bit of snail down this edge. And you see, you can add decoration at any point if it strikes you to do so. It's just how you feel about it and what you'd like to have put on there. So I'm going to add this piece on here to add a little bit of edging there, and just to give a little something more to this particular piece. Okay, so now I'm going to add my, oh, this is a pocket, so I want to use my red sticky strip. And set it in here, and there we've got our pocket opening and a place to tuck something else. You could actually adhere a picture on the front here and stick something in the pocket. So this page gives you lots of options. Okay, so we're on to our next pages, and on this page I thought I would just add a piece of pretty paper so somebody could mount a picture. So this one is just having some snail on the back. And putting this one into place. This piece is 5 3/8 by 3 3/8. There we go. Then we are on to the 2 back panels. And so I have this piece with a pocket ready to go on this one. And no, I want this piece showing. Okay, so this I'm just going to adhere to the panel with a little bit of snail. There we go. And then I'm going to add the red sticky tape to the edges of this piece for our pocket. Okay, there we are. Now we're to our back panel, and this is where we'll need our ribbon to close the album. And so I cut that ribbon to 23 inches, that's 16. And then I need a piece of the lace to be the same length. You know, this project isn't really hard. It's a little time consuming, just because there's a lot of pieces and a lot of layers to think your way through. But once you have everything laid out, if you set aside some time to work on something like this, it really goes together pretty smoothly. The trick is, and you saw even as I was doing it, occasionally you think you've cut out everything and there's still something left. So I want to get my measurements on my ribbon right, and so I can tell you how far from the end you should start sticking on your ribbon. And it looks like that needs to be roughly there. So about 7 inches in is where you want to stick the ribbon on the back of your project. And what I did was I kind of eyeballed the middle and I laid down 3 lines of fuse, and laying down 3 lines of fuse so that I have plenty of room, and taking my ribbons and I'm laying them together so that the lace shows out, and then the blue ribbon lays on top of it but not completely covering it, so that you be able to see the lace on both sides. Then at roughly 7 inches is where I need to start sticking my ribbon down, and I need the 7-inch piece to be on this side. Here's my piece set up this way. So at 7 inches, I'm going to lay this down on the fuse and pull it across the back of this panel and push it down into place. Then I'm going to take another bit of fuse across that ribbon fuse is so sticky. Okay, and then I've got my piece that's going to go on the back here, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my fuse to stick this piece on, because I don't want this ribbon to even remotely think about moving away. So I'm going to put extra fuse down the center of the back of the panel to hold that in place. And then I'm going to put this panel on very carefully, because with this much fuse on it, you sort of have one chance. And so there we go. There we have our piece on the back. And now we just have these pieces on the back to decorate. And we have 2 pieces that are the next size. Nope, those are these 2 pieces. Okay, so what I have done is I used both sides of this paper. All right, I thought I did. Actually, I think I want this one on that side. So I'm just going to use some snail. I'm going to put this pretty rose paper down on this side. And then, okay, on this panel, I'm going to use this pretty green, and then I'm going to put this rose strip down the side, and I'm just going to use snail again on these pieces. The paper's pretty versatile. There's so many different patterns that you can use, and even on the one that is the sweet sugar plum, sometimes the backs can be used on either one. So there's that, and I thought since this had the purple in it that I would put this little piece right down here and sort of pick up that purple color. And I suppose you could mix and match the purples and the oranges. Didn't think about that, but anything's possible. And just to add a little extra decoration there. So then we are on to the next two pieces, and these pieces are one that will cover up our seam here, and then let's see. All right, so I think what I'll do is do it that way. And then I have a little strip of this orange paper that I thought I would add to this to add a little bit of decoration. So this piece right along here, and then we're down to the last two pieces, and what I've got is this pretty orange paper and another green. And so I'm going to adhere those down. And since I've used this green so many times, I want something a little different, I think, in there. So I think maybe I'll cut this rose pattern here with the blue. So we know we need it to be 5 3/8, and this last panel, the smallest panel, is 2 3/8. So 2 3/8. Okay, so I'm going to put some snail on this. And going to add that piece on there. And then I have a little of this trim left that I had cut. See, that one looks like it's long enough to go on there, so let me trim a little bit of that edge off. And let's see. Yep, I gotta cut this one a little bit closer and put a little bit of snail on it. And put it along the edge of the paper here. Now on some of this you might want to run your little glue eraser along the edge just to pick up any extra little glue, because we've used a lot of glue on this project. And then we have this little blue trim, and I hate to not use it, so I'm going to cut just a little bit of it and put it down here along the bottom of this piece here. And I think that's about it. Maybe I will add this little piece to the top. And the back of this doesn't have any extra pockets or other kinds of embellishment, so putting on a little extra paper on the back to kind of spruce it up a bit appeals to me. There we go. All right, so there we have it, our pretty little mini album. And let's see, make sure that everything closes the way you want it to, and close up the album. And there we have our orange and pool party album as well. And our ribbon down here, which will tie into a bow and leave nice long tails on. And there we have it. There's our project for the day. Let me tie this one shut. So there we have our mini album project, and like I said, we can decorate the outside of a box to have one. I did this with the sweet sugar plum paper, and this you can do with pieces that have the orange paper, something along that line along the top. So there we have it. And the other thing that I did do was, ahead of time, I did cut a few of these little tag pieces here. And so let me grab a few of those. And again, all I would do is just stick some. I mean, there's a pocket right back here that I can see. Oops, let me pull this apart. We have this little pocket in here that can get a couple of these strips and banners. Then we have this pocket here, which can get a few little things put in it. And we have this last pocket here, which we can add some pieces for somebody to make some signs for what's in their album. So there you have it. That's our project for the day. It's fiddly, there's no doubt about it. Lots of little parts and pieces, but I do think it is a lovely giftable for the holidays. To give someone the gift of something like this that you've obviously put time and effort into is, I think, just a wonderful statement. And you can purchase anything that you see here on my 24, little pieces of paper everywhere, on my 24/7 shop, www.lbettinger.stampinup.net, and make this lovely album. Set aside some time to do it and cut your pieces ahead of time. And again, the paper that gives all of the directions is available. I'll leave it here for a second again if you want to take a screenshot. All of these directions will be listed below the video. And if you want the directions emailed to you, just contact me on my blog, which is at that www.stampinup.net sign location, and I'll email you the instructions. Okay, so that's it for me today. See, the prize draw for this month is the Soft Sayings card kit, which is a complete card kit that makes 20 cards, and I'll be doing an alternatives video on that before the month is done to show you what else you can do with that kit. And I just got my paper pumpkin, and so I am going to do an alternative paper pumpkin video as well. It's wonderful looking paper pumpkin, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. So until next time, I'll be back with more projects and more cards. See you soon. Bye.